Ime, after all the ruckus last week about the lineups, went with some spacing, went with some, versatile players, and it worked.
Bobby, how strange was it that we were the time all of us jumped on Ime a couple games ago was for that stubborn double point guard lineup with Tatum bringing the ball up,
And it hasn't happened since, has it?
But Smart gets hurt. So you're like, okay, we're going to live or die with Schroeder here. And he goes with the 0 point guard lineup, which was really surprising.
Yeah, no, Richardson came in and wasn't great in this one, but he's a guy who can space the floor and make plays, secondary plays a little bit better than Richardson can in that spot. You'd probably rather have him shooting catch and shoot threes than Schroeder there. And Grant, it's kind of a no-brainer. He wasn't great in this one, but you did kind of see how that pocket pass to the corner there really helped out the offense late.
I think it was like a minute and a half left, or maybe more than that, but in regulation. And Grant got another open look, and Jalen could have, or Tatum rather, could have. He pretty much had a layup, but he resorted to giving him that open shot. He misses, and of course, he got the ball back in that big spot. I just think it goes to show that their confidence in him. Yeah, Grant went back to that corner, and that time he was wide open, and they didn't hesitate to give him the ball again.
Even the little pull-up that he had with about 3-4 minutes to go, where he went baseline, and that one rattled in and out. That was a good shot. So that Grant is all about them falling. I do fear that he's going to regress to the mean. He's not a 45% three-point shooter. He's not a 50-something% three-point shooter from the corner. He's going to fall. So in order to hit those season averages, you're going to go through a bit of rough stretches to even things out. But he's still better than anything they have in terms of spacing right now. And Richardson probably is the other guy. So those are the only guys that can create a little bit of space. If you're going to make Tatum the primary ball handler or Brown, it makes sense for those guys to look for one another once the defensive attention gets drawn over to them. So, that's and then you might make that extra kick, which they did in the case of Jalen finding, Grant for that big three in the corner. The Schroeder thing is interesting though, isn't it, guys? Like, do you think this is a movement off of him, just to say or was it just reading this game and he's like, I'm not feeling him tonight? Or do you think Ime is like, I'm a little concerned with how we look when he's on the floor in crunch time, and I don't want to play him right now, even without a point guard?
I think it was more about just this game. I mean, he wasn't very good. I mean, his defense wasn't good.
But neither was Grant, neither was Richardson until the fourth.
Yeah,
really.
But Grant, when he's on the floor, he's done enough to where he's going to create some space for you because of his presence. As one of the reasons why Grant has kind of taken a step back statistically is because he's now on the scouting report. Teams now are well aware of him when he's out there. Schroeder, he is who he is. When he misses a couple of shots, that's kind of who he is. He's going to have games where he's going to go 4 for 6, and other games like tonight where he was going 0 for 4. So I think it was just more of a function of this game. And Josh Richardson, I just thought had a better feel about him. I thought he was better defensively. I thought he was more engaged. I thought he deserved. And without having Smart, you had to have one of those guys out there. And if I had to choose for this particular game, Josh Richardson was a smart call on that part.
It's interesting that Smart fan of that. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, real quick, I was just gonna say I was a little surprised to see that he didn't go to Schroeder in the fourth into overtime, but he did have a bad game. I mean, there were some shots. I think he airballed a couple.
Yeah.
He's kind of up to his own.
Very careless approach.
Definitely careless. And the other thing was, don't forget the Pacers didn't have any of their guards tonight, so Ime could kind of get away with not going to a guard-heavy lineup in overtime. He could kind of mix and match and see what else. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's frustrating about all the turnovers in this one. Unforced stuff. Not much pressure from Indiana at all. Ime talked about that after the game. So once you did go in a direction where you trusted Brown on the ball a little bit more there late, he was able to take care of it, which was good. That's what they need in this game. Because, man, how bad was Indiana's offense for large stretches of this one? The only reason they got anywhere off the ground is because you were feeding them easy passes and transition and just throwing away possessions with the awful turnovers. Yeah, so listen, I don't think Dennis is the best ball security guy. Smart was not by any means. They almost gained something in this one by having him get off the floor and be out of the game for good there. He was just awful in that first half. And, Tatum was pretty rough in his own regard. 1 assist, 8 turnovers there. So you needed somebody down the stretch who could just take care of the ball. And that's really all it did take to win this one. They ended up winning it a little more commandingly because they made some good plays and had some good ball movement there. But right now you just need someone to steady this.
If you're Ime, you've seen what's happened the past 2 weeks been, right? Blowing these leads and poor execution down the stretch. You can't forget what happened in New York, obviously. And I thought Schroeder, being the veteran that he is, made one of the worst mistakes in that crucial turnover. So I think this is sort of a bit of both. Like if it's close down the stretch, depending on how he's playing, maybe he goes with him. But more times than not, if he's ice cold and he's not feeling it and he seems out of sync with all the rest of the guys, it's important for Ime to recognize that and say, "Nah, man, you're gonna take a seat."
Yeah, and sorry, I went away from
everybody else too. It sends the right message.
I went away from Schroeder there, but him doing things like calling off other guys when clearly there's supposed to be certain motions there is just for what Boston's trying to accomplish. That's just unacceptable, and they gotta stop with that. Like it's just brutal.
I mean, he does it. You know, you see it from time to time. Tatum will do it as well. You know,
but Schroeder doesn't have the ball much, so like even if he does it a couple of times, it's still a big part of.
I think it's probably pretty annoying, and I think some of the I think the players probably get annoyed a little bit too. It's like run what you're supposed to run when you're out there. I'm sure that's not a thing that like ingratiates him with his teammates.
Developing Brown and Tatum is so important because you don't have the ability to go out and get Lowry, Paul, Ball, all these guys that we dream of coming in and saving this team. I think Ime, Brad, they know where they are as an organization right now. These are probably the conversations they had in hiring him. And essentially the only path out of this is to get those guys going as playmakers. And I think they understand that. This is kind of what Kawhi and George went through out in LA. I think that's a great comparison. And it's going to take some time here. Now, they can do some things to make it easier. I'm not saying get rid of Rob and like shooters and anything they have here. But right now, with what we've watched this year, are Richardson and Schroeder and these guys that we potentially look at selling off here really helping them that much? Like, we have what we have in terms of their offensive production and the team's record at this point. These guys don't accentuate them that well. So you got to swap them out, move some minutes toward younger guys, a shooter like Pritchard. Maybe you bring somebody.
They would be much worse. Believe it or not, they would be much worse than they already are with those two guys this year. They'd probably have 6 more losses, probably.
Real quick, don't bring the Pritchard debate to the show because you guys were going at it in the group chat. I don't know if John's going to bring it up, but well, it's probably going to come up organically right now, I guess. But
John, if they
Pritchard
sell, if they trade Schroeder and who, maybe you keep Richardson in the offseason because he's out. Let's just say they trade Schroeder. Are you that much worse?
Look, Bobby, that's not the argument. I've been saying that. What I'm saying is there's one argument to not worry about wins and losses and develop talent because that's going to be more important to you in the future, which is what we've been saying since last year. I don't believe Pritchard is someone who needs developing as much because he came into the league more of a finished product. So I don't believe he's being hurt by sitting. When he comes in, he can do what he does. I think Romeo and Nesmith are being destroyed. And again, this is the nuanced argument. I don't think Romeo and Nesmith are terrific, and they might not ever be even good or serviceable, but you are absolutely destroying any chance you have of developing their careers by doing what you're doing to them right now, destroying them. So it's a matter of what you value as an organization. If it's important to develop high first-round picks, and they are, okay? They're not upper lottery, but these are valuable
14,
picks.
Right? Yep.
14. Okay, this isn't trash, and they are early in their careers. You develop them because it's important to have that kind of balance on your roster and develop these assets because you don't get a lot of cracks at them.
And guess what?
Or you literally just piss them away, just throw them away, which is what they're doing right now.
Whether or not Romeo and Nesmith and Pritchard, those guys get minutes or not, even if they have good rest of their seasons, there's no big factor into it's not like they're here because the Celtics haven't wanted to get rid of them or can't get rid of them. They're just here because they're filling roster spots right now. So I really don't think they are a huge part of this future, one way or the other. I'm all for giving them minutes. I'm fine with that. And if that means trading Schroeder, I get it.
Dump him for a bench veteran. For real.
Yeah, but also, guys, if
fine.
They
probably would.
Isn't part of the future, though. That's terrible, right?
But that's what's killing you right now.
Yeah, they struck out already with other picks, and then they sold the second rounders, last for the
they're bad at drafting.
You play them and develop
for
them
2 months before you
or dump them. They do nothing for you because
they're not, get rid of them.
Dump them for a bench. Dump them for a bench asset if you're worried about wins and losses. But I think that's absolutely selling as low as you possibly can, and it's guaranteeing mediocrity. It's just guaranteeing it. So that's what hurts you there. Like
well,
they're
they already
not.
started, right? They got rid of Parker to save some money. They can get rid of Schroeder to save some money. If that's the driving motivation there, I'm actually fine with it because listen, no one cares about the WIC tax and all that stuff, but you're just breaking down the roster a little bit, making Ime rely on young guys just a little bit more in that spot. And I don't think it hurts Brown and Tatum's development all that much. I don't think there's a huge difference between the lower guys and some of the veterans that they're relying on right now. In fact, Grant's kind of that middle ground between them, and he's been fine for them as a supporting piece.
Grant's been solid.
Yeah, so
no, but you just run the risk of frustrating. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum too. You run the risk of being so bad over so much time, where these guys don't want to play for you anymore. You can't just rebuild around these guys for the next 2-3 years. They're gonna say see you later.
I have a different view of how much worse to be though. Like this isn't good at all.
That's what I was saying. Is how much worse would it? The bench was awful tonight.
They might be better
until very late in the fourth. Are you telling me if you decided not to play any of the guys on the bench tonight and went with, let's say Pritchard was healthy, if instead of Richardson, who was fine late, and Schroeder,
yeah,
and Ennis even, you gave some minutes to Romeo and Nesmith, you think this game is hugely different tonight?